there's a piece of software on millions of computers. It's supposed to be safe. It's a simple tool, and it's trusted completely. But for 6 months, that trust was a lie. It was turned into a weapon.
For half a year, one single click was all it took. An update for Notepad++. That one click could have turned your computer into a listening post for a foreign government, an open door into your most sensitive data.
You see, this attack was not random. The victims were chosen. And for those people, the damage was silent and it was deep. So the question isn't just if you use the software. The real question is, were you on their list?
To really get how this happened, you have to understand the target. They didn't go after some digital fortress. No, they went after a public library. The target wasn't just a piece of software. It was an institution built entirely on trust.
For more than 2 decades, Notepad++ has been this constant companion for the people who build and manage our digital world. It's light, it's powerful, and it's open source. For the people who use it, it's not just a tool. It's part of their daily routine, as familiar as their own keyboard. You know that update notification? It was always a welcome sight. It meant improvements, better security. It was just digital hygiene. You did it without a second thought. And that routine act, that blind trust, that was the exact vulnerability they were waiting for. The attack itself was, well, kind of elegant in its simplicity. See, they didn't need to break the software itself because they had already captured the road it traveled on. When investigators dug in, they found the source code for Notepad++ was totally clean. The developers hadn't done anything wrong. The breach was one level higher. It was at the shared hosting provider. Attackers seized control of the servers that were responsible for pushing out updates. And just like that, they became the gatekeepers. And this wasn't some quick smash-and-grab job. It was a patient, 6-month siege. The breach started way back in June. And even after their direct server access was cut in September, they weren't done. Oh no. They used stolen credentials to keep redirecting traffic for 3 more months. It wasn't until December 2nd that their access was finally fully severed. For half a year, that trap was live. So for the people they targeted, the attack was completely invisible. Here's how it worked. You click Update. The compromised server intercepts that request, but instead of the real file, it sends you a link to its own malicious server. A Trojanized file disguised as a normal installer gets downloaded. You run it, thinking you're getting an update, but what you're really doing is installing a spy. The thing that was installed on those machines, it wasn't some off-the-shelf virus. It was a custom-built piece of spyware, a digital ghost, designed for one thing and one thing only: silent, persistent espionage. Researchers gave it a name: Chrysalis. Now, this is what's known as a supply chain attack. I mean, think about it. Why try to break down the front door of a fortress when you can just walk in disguised as the food delivery? By compromising a trusted piece of software, attackers can bypass firewalls, antivirus, even suspicion. They use your own trust against you. The technique they used to hide the malware was especially clever. It's called DLL sideloading. So here's how it worked. The fake installer would place a totally legitimate, digitally signed program from the security company, Bitdefender, onto the system. But it also dropped a malicious file named log.dll in the very same folder. So when that legitimate program ran, Windows would actually load the attacker's malicious DLL instead of the real one. And boom, the malware was now running under the cover of a trusted security application. This Chrysalis backdoor was the ultimate prize for the attackers. It was heavily disguised to avoid being detected, its configuration was encrypted, and all its communications were made to look like normal web traffic. This wasn't just malware, this was a professionally developed espionage tool. Once they were inside, the attackers had near total control. They could open up an interactive command shell, that's like having direct keyboard access to the machine. They could create new processes to run whatever other tools they wanted. They could write files to the disk or steal any file they wanted and send it right back to their command and control server. And when the mission was over, a final command would uninstall the backdoor, wiping away almost all traces that they were ever there. And this brings us to a really crucial point. The people behind this, they weren't after your credit card numbers or your crypto wallet. Their goal was much, much more strategic. This was not a crime of opportunity. This was an act of intelligence gathering. The truth is, the vast majority of Notepad++ users were never in danger. The attackers only redirected the update traffic from very specific victims. They knew exactly who they were after. And that suggests a well-resourced, patient enemy with a very clear intelligence objective. And when you look at the list of sectors they targeted, it reads like a national security priority list. Government, finance, telecom, critical infrastructure. I mean, these are the pillars of a modern state. By getting inside the computers of developers and system admins in these organizations, the attackers could gain access to source code, network plans, maybe even state secrets.
Security researchers who took this whole thing apart all came to the same conclusion. The limited scope of this attack, that was a deliberate choice. It was designed to get the most impact on high-value targets while minimizing the risk of getting caught early. It was a quiet, patient hunt. The tactics they used, their choice of targets, the custom tools, it all points in one direction. Multiple independent security firms have attributed this campaign to a group known as Lotus Blossom. That's an advanced persistent threat group, one that is widely believed to be sponsored by the Chinese state. Their objective is pretty clear: long-term intelligence collection for strategic advantage. So for 6 long months, this whole operation ran completely in the shadows. But eventually, even the most careful spies make mistakes. And the first threads of this conspiracy began to unravel, not in some high-tech security center, but on a public forum. It was October 2025. A user calling themselves Soft Parsley posted on the Notepad++ community forums. They said that after an update, they saw their computer running strange commands like whoami and task list, and the output was being sent to a suspicious file-sharing website. That one single post, that was the smoke signal that told the security community something was deeply, deeply wrong. The Notepad++ team, once they knew it was happening, acted fast. The core problem was that older versions didn't strictly verify the digital signature of the update package. So the fix, which they put in version 8.8.9 and later, was to make this verification mandatory. Now, if an update package doesn't have a valid, trusted signature from the developers, the update is just aborted. The hijacked delivery route was sealed for good. Okay, so this specific flaw is patched, but the strategy behind the attack is more dangerous than ever. Think about it. Every piece of trusted, free software on your system has a supply chain. Every utility, every library, every single editor. And state-sponsored actors are now systematically mapping and attacking these chains, turning our own trust into their greatest weapon. This whole incident proves that even the most harmless tools can be weaponized. So I want you to think about your own machine. What essential free software do you rely on every single day? A browser extension, a media player, a file converter? The tools you trust the most could be the next target. Let me know in the comments what you think they are.